Good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another one of our podcasts. Boy, this is your men's life coach, Rolando. We are happy to be here. Can you believe it? It's already December the 27th, 2024. The year is definitely winding down. I hope that you got all that you plan to achieved already for this year. If not, you still have round about 4 days to do so. I hope that you guys had a wonderful or you are having a great holiday time. I hope that your Christmas was all that you expected. If not, I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're joining us again one more time on the podcast. And I just want to say I appreciate you. Uh, Great to see you out there, Ronaldo. Good to have you. Hope that you had a great Christmas. And thank you for being here again this morning. Just want to remind you guys also that the podcast is on every weekday morning between 5:30 and 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Apologetically, yesterday morning I missed out on our podcast. A guy sometimes has to take a little extra sleep just to reset and recharge. And yesterday morning was one of those times. So I do apologize to you if you were not here. Or rather, if you came and you never saw me, I apologize for that. But here I am today, and we're going to have another great conversation around dealing with men's mental health because that's my passion. As a men's life coach, my passion is to create a safe space where, as men, we continue to talk about how we are going to challenge the stigma and break the stigma about men's mental health. Because, guys, it's no secret that there is a huge stigma around men's mental health. And today it's Freedom Friday. It's Freedom Friday. And we are looking at the theme why attending to your mental health is important. Why attending to your mental health is important. And I want us to have this conversation. Let me remind you guys that we do facilitate live coaching calls right here in the moment. So if you're joining us live on YouTube and you have a question, please type it in the chat. We can talk about it right now. If you're joining us live on the podcast, and I say to you, if you want to join the conversation live on the podcast, just go to xyspark.podbean. That's POD for dog, bean, bean.com, and you can join in the live chat right here on the podcast. For those who are joining us live on TikTok or frequent followers who come in here, we want to, name call. We see Ronaldo Edit, okay? We want to say thank you. Ronaldo has been one of our most frequent. And where are you shouting? Where are you joining us from, Ronaldo? Just type in the chat. We just want to acknowledge you and say thank you for the support that you continue to give us here at Texas Park. If you're coming here for the very first time, live on TikTok, wherever you're joining us from, shout out to you. And please, let us have a meaningful conversation today as we seek to empower more men to be healthier, to have a healthier mindset, and to have healthier relationship. So this morning we're going to talk about the whys. Why attending to your mental health is important. Guys, let's be real and let's start with having a real conversation. The reality of it is that many of us as men, we were not even taught about the reality of being impacted by mental health. A lot of us as men, we were not taught that mental health is actually something that exists. Let me give you an example, guys. Where I'm from originally, all right, and I'm from the Caribbean, all right. Originally, if you as a man, if you were to step forward and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with my mental health," people would think that you are actually an insane person they would say you're a madman or you're a mad woman. So acknowledging that your mental health is out of sync is not something that was seen as a strength in that community, in that culture. So a lot of men who are being impacted negatively, whose mental health rather is being impacted negatively, they don't acknowledge it because culturally it's not accepted. Hey, I see you, Belitio. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Right, and we always want to continue to send a shout out to all our female followers who come here every morning just to be a part of this conversation. So, welcome. We're happy to have you guys here. So, number one thing, guys, that we want to acknowledge is for many of us, depending on where we are located geographically, culture does not allow us, or culture does not give us any motivation to really talk about our mental health. So we don't talk about it. All right. The next thing that's very important, guys, that we need to acknowledge why it is that we don't attend to our mental health. There are many persons in our communities, in our social circles, who make it appear as if I acknowledge that my mental health is out of sync. There are persons who may ask, mental health, what is that? So just being in denial about the reality of our mental health being out of sync is not something that we have a safe space or a safe community to speak about. So then we prefer to stay in denial. We prefer to not acknowledge what's happening. And when our mental health is being impacted, or when our mental health is out of sync, those with whom we interact every day, if they are not mature enough, if they are not emotionally literate enough to see that you are not yourself, then who's going to support you? This is why your mental health has got to be your responsibility and your responsibility alone. The decision to attend to your mental health should be not left up to your father. 'Cause for many of us, our fathers, they themselves are ignorant about mental health. And oftentimes, because our parents, our fathers, our mentors, our uncles are ignorant about what mental health is, or what are the symptoms and signs of a deteriorating mental health, then they do not possess the skill to say to us, do something about it. Most cultures, and most of us as men, whenever we are feeling overwhelmed with anything emotionally, we tend to lean towards unhealthy ways to cope with our mental health that's normally harmful for us and harmful to those with whom we interact. So we have got to take ownership of this journey and attend to our mental health. And listen, I want to say this to all the men who are tuning in right now. You have got to get really serious and stop playing around right now, guys. There's no time to play around right now with your mental health. Number one, life is short. And number two, the persons with whom you share your life with every single day, they deserve at least to receive from you the best version of who you are. It's time to stop playing around with your mental health. Hey, I see you, Bio. Thanks for joining us live on TikTok. Just type in the chat where you're joining us from. You can send a shout out to you, right? But guys, just remember this: attending to your mental health, it's your responsibility. And as men, we have to stop playing around or pretending or putting forth this huge facade that we're okay when we're not. And guys, you know by now that I'm going to speak to you directly. Time to stop playing around with your mental health and take responsibility, take ownership, and be willing to invest the time and the energy and the discipline to do the work that needs to be done in order to maintain your mental health. So, attending to your mental health is important because number one is that you deserve to live a healthy, meaningful life. Yes, even though you are a man and you may believe that, hey, I'm not important. Everybody else in my family, in my life is important, but I'm not. And when you have that form of belief, guys, it's evidence that your mental health is in a deteriorating state. If you keep telling yourself you're not important, everybody's important, it doesn't matter what happens to you, then that there's a problem, because you can't give what you don't have. And if your mental health is in a deteriorating state, what is it that your family and loved ones are going to be recipients of? They're going to be recipients of a father or a husband or a son or a friend who is in a deteriorating state. So the self-deception that goes with that is that you're telling yourself that you're okay while you are feeding your loved ones and those who are connected with you a flawed version of who you are. But you're telling yourself that, hey, I'm okay. And if you find yourself repeating this often, I'm okay, don't worry about me, there's nothing wrong, it's almost as if you're not taking the time to do that reflection on what really going on with me. Am I okay? Do I need some support? What kind of support do I need? What can I do? Where can I go? Who can I speak to in order to start recovering from this funk that I'm stuck in? So, guys, attending to your mental health is important because, as I said, number one, your family, your friends, and those with whom you interact, they deserve to be recipients of the best version of who you are or who you can become. Attending to your mental health is important because it will help you to be a better employer or employee. See, sometimes you find that work, it's laborious. You go to work, but you're not motivated, you're not excited, you're not driven, you hate your job. All right, you're just going through the motions, and sometimes that may be as a result of you not paying attention to your mental health. So paying attention to your mental health will help you to reset and recognize that, hey, maybe my reason for not liking my job, or not, dealing with things the way I should, is because I've not been taking care of myself. So attending to your mental health is important because it helps you to build mental tenacity, mental fortitude to be able to interact and engage in a healthier, more professional way in your role as you go from day to day. So attending to your mental health is very important as it relates to having a healthy mindset and being more productive in your professional role. So attending to your mental health is critical. And next thing why attending to your mental health is important is that paying attention to your mental health will help to improve your relationships. Now, there are so many men who they expect to have healthy relationships, but they are not healthy. They are not psychologically and emotionally healthy, but they want to have relationships. And I'm saying to you, if you are a man and you are joining us live here on YouTube or TikTok or even on the podcast, and in your mind you're thinking, I just crave having, I want to have a relationship, or if you're in a relationship and you're that guy who you're complaining constantly, you're always expecting things from your partner. You want your partner to change. You want, things to be different, but you're not recognizing that you are the problem in the relationship because you don't have a healthy mindset or you're not psychologically connected. Attention to your mental health, guys, is going to help you to be a better partner and to be an asset in a relationship versus being a liability. So you must make attending to your mental health a priority. You can't expect to have a healthy relationship if you are not healthy. You shouldn't expect to have a healthy relationship as a man if you are not healthy. If you have a drug problem, you're not healthy. Your mental health is in crisis. If you have an alcohol problem, you're not healthy. Your mental health is in crisis. If you have a problem where you're verbally abusive, your mental health is in crisis. You're physically abusive, your mental health is in crisis. If you are self sabotaging your relationships, your mental health is in crisis. If, as a man, you struggle with low self esteem, your mental health is in crisis. If you are a procrastinator, your mental health is in crisis. If you are struggling with a porn addiction, your mental health is in crisis. If you are a man who you find it easier to have several different partners, your mental health is in crisis. So there are so many signs. If you're smoking excessively, your mental health is in crisis. All right. And recognizing that, guys, and attending to the why. And that's the important piece. Ask the question, the why. Why am I drinking as much as I have been drinking? Why am I smoking as much as I have been smoking? Why am I using drugs as much as I have? Why is it hard for me to stay in a committed relationship? Why am I, feeling isolated more often than none? What's making me a little bit more anxious than norm? And recognition of this, guys, will help you to attend to your mental health. You see, all of these guys and so many other things are reasons to take what I call to take inventory and then attend to your mental health. You see, guys, having a healthy mindset is not something that we can just go and buy in a dollar store. It would be so easy. And if the issue is that a lot of us as men, we oftentimes want to go through the easy way as it relates to our mental health. Everything else, we not everything, but several other things, we're okay with putting time into it. Okay, a lot of us as men, we're okay in putting in hours just to go to the gym. We want to look chiseled. We want to have a 6 or 8 pack or whatever packs you can pack in to your physical structure. You spend time and make that priority. If there's someone that you find important or interesting, you spend time with them. You put your best foot forward all the time because you want to present as this person who's got it all together. But when it comes to our mental health, a lot of us as men, we are guilty. We're so guilty. Why? Because we come up with so many different reasons why. Hey, yeah, that Amanta, see you. Good to have you. Not sure where you're joining us from, but thank you for joining us live on TikTok. Just resetting the room and remind you guys that this is the XY podcast, the podcast for men, where we continue the conversations about men's mental health. Our goal here is to normalize these conversations and to let you guys know that paying attention to your mental health as a man, it's not a weakness, it's a strength. It is not anything to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. And so our goal here at XY Spark is to say to more of our male listeners and even to our female listeners to encourage more men to come into this space. Right? So right now you're joining us live on TikTok. I just wanted to reach out to your friends, say to them, hey, come on in. Let's listen to what's going on here. Let's join this conversation. Let's start breaking the stamina of the stigma about men's mental health. What we're talking about here in XY Spark is saving more lives. What we're talking about here is making more men understand that acknowledging that your mental health needs attention is actually one of the boldest things that you can do in 2024 and beyond. And we want to say to you guys that this is how it begins. It begins right here, right? Normalize these conversations and let's get serious about attending to our mental health. Today is Friday, it's Freedom Friday, it's a weekend. And I'd like to put a challenge out there to all my listeners. For this weekend, I would like you to identify one thing that you are committed to doing differently as a way of paying attention to your mental health. All right. And I don't know where you are, where you're joining us from. I see you, GSTCC. Thank you for being here live on TikTok. But I want you guys to understand this, that this weekend, as you go off, I want you to reflect and think about one thing that you need to do differently in order to attend to your mental health. Because here's the truth, guys. You can't depend on anybody else to make this happen but yourself. So herein is the big challenge. Herein is the big question. Are you ready to pay attention to your mental health? Are you ready to break that vicious cycle? Are you ready to change your mindset? All right. Well, there's no better time to make that commitment than right now. Your mental health is your responsibility, and it's not a myth. All right. So here's another reason why paying attention to your mental health is important. It will help you to be more emotionally regulated. You see, a lot of us guys, we're not emotionally regulated. We go from 0 to 60 so quickly, right? We have these anger outbursts. Okay, we don't know how to problem solve. We can't control ourselves when you're driving on the busy highway sometimes. We don't have a demeanor that is welcoming. We're constantly angry, we're constantly doubting ourselves. We When we attend to our mental health, we'll be more emotionally regulated, and hence we'll be better able to apply ourselves in the moment. So if you find that you're someone who you're not emotionally regulated or you struggle with that, you need to pay some attention to your mental health. All right. Daniel, I see you, shout out to you. All right. Um, okay, hey, yeah, okay. Anak is your language, Daniel. Okay, great. Good to have you. Shout out to Daniel joining us live on TikTok. All right. So, guys, if you want to have um, better relationships where you are emotionally accessible, because you see, a lot of us, guys, as men, we are in relationships, but we're not emotionally accessible. Our partners struggle to connect with us at an emotional level. Why? Because several of us, most of us, a great portion of us as men, we were taught to not show emotions. So we don't show emotions, right? We don't show empathy. We are afraid to display any form of empathy because we see that as a flaw of character if we are a man. So a lot of us as men attending to our mental health will help us now, guys, to be more emotionally accessible. And there's no one who wants to be in a relationship where their partner is not emotionally accessible. So attending to your mental health as a man will help you to be more emotionally accessible. On my own journey, guys, and I can say this to you that I've had to learn myself how to be more emotionally accessible, which comes down to me being more emotionally aware of my own feelings, acknowledging my own shortcomings, acknowledging my weaknesses, acknowledging the areas in my life that need improvement, and taking the time to work on that. And when you are emotionally aware and emotionally accessible, it will also help you guys to have healthier marriages. If you're a man and you're married right now, and you may hear your partner say, hey, You're not hearing me. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to get through to you, but I can't. This may mean that you're emotionally inaccessible, but if you attend to your mental health, you'll be able to recognize and acknowledge, okay, what work do I need to do in order for my partner to be able to connect with me? So this is, guys, that connection, that relationship connection that many of us crave. We sometimes are the problem why the connection is not being made, because we're not emotionally accessible. All right. And being emotionally accessible in our relationship is key to growing and to developing. I was interviewing, one of my guests on my podcast, and that interview is coming out soon, guys. And I was speaking with Brian Dirksen, a musician, and shout out to Brian. Brian is probably traveling now to Germany. He's a renowned musician, Brian Dirksen. You can look for him on YouTube. And Brian said this, and I want to reiterate what Brian said, and I'm quoting Brian now. Brian said that one of the secrets to his success as a man, as it relates to attending to his mental health, is that he's had to learn to appreciate the different stages of growth that he went through. And that's what helped him. So, guys, attending to our mental health will help us to be mindful of where we are at on our journey, and teach us how to adapt and apply ourselves to those situations in the moment, so that we can experience growth. So attending to your mental health, it's key towards growing, it's key towards making that change, it's key to experiencing that evolutionary process as you grow from one stage of your journey to the next. So attending to your mental health is important because of all these things. So mental health attention is needed every single day. You need to pay attention to your mental health every single day. And I need to pay attention to my mental health every single day. And it is in doing that, guys, that we are going to reach our goals. So sometimes you may find that, hey, if I attend to my mental health, I will not have so many unfinished projects, right? I will not start things and leave it halfway. I'll go right through to the end. If I attend to my mental health, the procrastination that I often find I do, I will not do it as much. I will get more things done because I'm not a chief procrastinator. The second guessing, you will not do that as much, because attending to your mental health will help you to grow and build your confidence. All right. But if you're someone who, hey, I'm an extreme narcissist, if you have narcissistic type personality, then your mental health needs to be addressed so that you can be more connected with your partner, and you can be more effective in the way you interact. So if you're someone who have a narcissistic type personality, then your mental health needs to be addressed. And attending to your mental health will take you out of that false way of living to being more empowered and more effective. Hey, I see you, Kani. I can't pronounce all the name, but I see you, Kani. Great to have you. Please just type in the chat where you're joining us from. Thank you for joining us here on the podcast. This is Rolando, your men's life coach here on xyspark. So, guys, it's so important to understand that mental health and men's mental health, it's in crisis. It's no secret. Men's mental health is in crisis. And until we get really serious about addressing what's going on, the ship is going to continue to sink, right? And many of us as men, we are going down with that ship because of refusal, because of denial, and because of fear. So let's talk about the fear factor around mental health, right? Remember, if we are going to attend to our mental health as men, we have got to come up against the fear factor. Yes, there's a huge fear around men stepping forward and acknowledging their mental health. I remember years ago myself when I went and I studied for the very first time. I wasn't I wasn't bold enough to acknowledge that my mental health needed attention. So I did everything else to hide behind the facade of, not stepping up and saying, hey, I'm struggling. And guys, I want to challenge you to recognize that, hey, if you're struggling, there's no shame in admitting that. You have got to step away from that belief, that fear, that acknowledging that you're struggling with your mental health is actually a bad thing. That's a good thing, guys. That's a healthy thing. That's a smart thing. The thing that is not smart is when you are telling yourself, or when you're listening to all the stigma, when you're listening to all the negativity that goes with when a man acknowledges that he struggles. That is the thing that hurts and harms the mental stability of a man. So it's so important, guys, for you to stop listening to all these, how do I say, these critiques. Stop listening to your internal critique that is telling you, don't do it, you can't do it, never, never say you're struggling, right? And oftentimes, when we're struggling, even if we don't say it, it comes out in our behaviors, right? And so, if we want to change those behaviors, we've got to work on changing the mindset. And changing the mindset is going to help to change the way we live, and we can create new perspectives and recognize that, hey, I don't need to feel afraid or fearful about judgment. I don't need to be fearful about expectations. Because remember, guys, what's worse? Is it worse for someone to judge you for seeking to do the right? Or is it worse for someone to judge you because you didn't seek to do the right and in the end you end up hurting yourself and hurting somebody else? Whichever way it goes, guys, judgment is going to be there. Hey Tristan, I see you, buddy. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us here live, right? But your mental health, guys, is important because it's up to you. So challenge the fear that goes with this idea that, hey, if I do this as a man, I am not going to be respected anymore. I'm not going to be seen as strong. I'm not going to be seen as a leader. I'm not going to be seen as somebody who's dependable. If I admit that my mental health is out of sync, what will my friends think? What will my mom think? What will my father think? All right, I will lose my self image if I attend to my mental health. Guys, you have got to stop doing this and challenge those fears. You've got to start changing the internal messaging that you are creating in your mind. You see, sometimes, guys, mindset is what breaks a man or makes a man. And if your mindset, if you're constantly feeding yourself with this negative perspective, this negative outlook about what's going on with your mental health, then you're harming yourself more and more, because see, the fear harms your ability to step out of your comfort zone and do the work that's necessary in order to heal and in order to have a healthier mindset. So guys, attending to your mental health, it shouldn't be a second, it shouldn't be, something that you do later. It should be something that you do right now. Attending to your mental health it's not something that you should leave to do when you have time, right? It should be something that you prioritize and make time for. Attending to your mental health should not be something that you do, when you're in crisis. Don't wait until you hit rock bottom to attend to your mental health. Attend to your mental health right now, right? You can start attending to your mental health right now by saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to start putting away anything that I'm using as a crutch to deny or hide from my reality. That's one of the first steps. Stop hiding and making excuses to participate in unhealthy lifestyle choices because you don't want to really address your mental health, right? Sometimes your mental health is being impacted because of past trauma. You might have had some trauma in your life, and ever since that happened, you have been, you know, doing things that is self-harming. You've been hurting yourself, right? And if that's what you're doing, your mental health needs attention. And I'm saying to you, go and pay attention to your mental health right now. Stop playing around with your life, right? You only have one life. And if you are not addressing your mental health and you're living on the edge every single day, you're actually depriving yourself of experiencing life at its fullest because you are not willing to do the work that's going to help you to heal. Remember, healing and transformation, it's a personal decision. I'm a life coach and I can be here and I can coach you and I can tell you all the things that you need to do in order to heal. But you've got to take ownership. You've got to take responsibility and you've got to be willing to invest the time. You've got to commit. You've got to do the work. You've got to be intentional. And that is how you are going to get results that's going to help your mental health to be in a better place. So, this is key, guys. And, just resetting the room and say, wherever you're joining us from, thank you for joining us here on the live. Okay, keep those likes coming, guys. I appreciate you. Zoo here, I see you. Real Medic, I see you. Cameron, thank you for being here, guys. This is a podcast, so man, xyspark, and right here we talk about the value of men paying attention to their mental health and breaking the stamina of the stigma about men's mental health is what we do right here at xyspark. Our mantra is that personal development is not an event, it's a lifestyle. And we are seeking to say every day between the hour of 5:30 and 6, we will be here live, and that is Mountain Standard Time. All right, we'll be here live every day to continue these conversations about men's mental health. Today is Friday, and it's Freedom Friday. And as you go off into the weekend, I want you to challenge yourself to pay attention to your mental health. Why? Because it's important. Why? Because you're important. And I want to reiterate this, guys, that it's time to stop listening to your internal critique. That voice in your head that tells you nobody cares, nobody wants you around, it doesn't matter what happens to you. That voice in your head, that negative voice, that internal critique, that imposter, that voice in there that causes you to always be comparing yourself to somebody else, that voice in your head that tells you nobody will miss you. We want to challenge that, guys, right? It is in challenging that we're going to save the life of a father. That's what's going to save one more kid from going into foster care because the father's not around, and because sometimes because of that, mom struggles, and that struggle sometimes finds mom where, hey, she's trying to do it by herself. And yes, you do have single moms who do it by themselves, but how powerful it would be if dad is healthy and present to help to grow his kid, right? Your kid deserves the best version of you. Your kid doesn't deserve what's left of you. Your kid doesn't deserve a watered down version of a man. Your kid deserves the best version of a man, which means attending to your mental health and doing that work so that we can save a life. We can have homes where we have more fathers who are present, and not just say present in body, but present in mind. We'll have more fathers who can connect with their kids at every level and can groom and coach and encourage and mentor and help their kids now to understand how effective it can be when a father is grounded and ready to lead. Remember, if you want to be an effective father, you have to learn more how to be an effective individual, which means challenging all those different things that happen in your life. So go, guys, work on yourself. If historically you have some trauma, go work on it. If historically you were violated, go work on it. If you went through some abuse of any kind, I say go and work on it. All right. If you're struggling with some abandonment issues, go work on it. Whatever the issue that you're having as a man, I'm saying to you right now, stop making excuses and go and work on your mental health. Listen, guys, we have to make this priority. We have to start doing this. Right now, we have to start filling up some more counseling spaces, filling up some more support groups. But listen, guys, I'm saying, wherever you are working, if a part of your employment package has counseling, I'm saying go and get some counseling. Go find somebody to talk with, right? Toss the alcohol aside, toss the cigarettes, toss the drugs, toss the marijuana, toss all those things, kick them to the curb, and go and work on yourself. Because if you need help, there's no shame in admitting that. Okay? There's no shame in admitting that, guys. And for the ladies who are here, if you have somebody in your life and you realize that they need help, encourage them to go, right? I'm saying to you guys, stop hiding behind shades, stop hiding behind ignorance, stop hiding behind pride, stop hiding behind denial, stop hiding behind excuses, stop hiding behind drug use and alcohol use, stop hiding behind all these things. Stop hiding behind the hey, as a people, this is what we inherited, and so this is just how I have to be. You can make your own personal decision to attend to your mental health right now, today. So I'm challenging you right now. You're live on TikTok, I'm challenging you. If you're live on YouTube, I'm challenging you. If you are here on the podcast, and remember I said to you guys, like, subscribe. You can subscribe to a YouTube channel. It's xyspark.com. Okay, you can find us on YouTube. You can subscribe to our podcast. It's xyspark.podbean.com. You can find our podcast on Spotify, on iTunes. You can find it on Amazon Music. All right. Download. You can go back and listen to this episode later. And please, I also say, guys, if you have a topic that you'd like us to discuss, please feel free to type that in the chat. You can message us as well. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on Facebook. We are here to say, listen, men's mental health needs attention, and it needs it 24/7. And we have decided to be that space where more men can acknowledge that, hey, it is okay to not be okay, and step out and make an effort to get help. So I'm not sure where you are right now. I'm not sure what's going on with you right now. I'm not even sure if you're listening to this podcast right now and you were planning to do something that's really harmful to yourself or to somebody else. I don't know. But I'm just here to say to you, Stop right where you are and remember this. You have value. You have value. You are important. In spite of what your mind is telling you right now, I just want to reiterate that you have worth. And just imagine this. If you go out there and you do something harmful and hurt somebody or hurt yourself, that pain that you're feeling is not going to go away. It's only going to intensify. But if you take the responsibility and say to yourself, I am no longer going to become a slave to my own negative thinking patterns, and you decide to start doing the work, you will see results. You're not going to see results right away. And I'm going to tell you this, guys. Here's the reality. As men, we have got to stop having this mentality that we want to see the results right away. That's not realistic. If your mental health is out of sync, you need to take the time to do the work and stop telling yourself that you want to see the results right away. That is not a healthy space to be. You're setting yourself up for failure. But you invest in the time and doing the work is what is going to give you the result. Move away from this fast food mentality, right? Attending to your mental health is not like a drive-through experience. It's a main course. It's going to require your commitment and it's going to require you to put quality time into addressing your mental health. That's how you're going to get positive results, right? You're not going to get positive results by making excuses. You're not going to get positive results by sitting around and saying to yourself, why life had to happen to me? Why me? You're not the only one. There are several other thousands, millions of people who may be going through things similar to you or worse than you. I'm saying your situation is not beyond repair, but you have to take the reins of your life in your hands and start making healthier decisions, right? Start making better decisions. This is when you're going to get results. Oftentimes, we expect to get results without doing the work. You have to do the work. You have to invest the time. You have to be open to taking on the challenge. And when you do that, that's when you're going to start seeing a difference. So, you want to see a difference? Then guess what? This is how the difference is going to come to fruition. Guys, listen, we are almost at the end of today's episode. For those who stayed with us, we appreciate you. If you have a question, please type it in the chat. I want to send a shout out to you, Spider Cat, wherever you're joining us from. We appreciate you. All right. Those who are live on YouTube, thank you for being here. Those who are live on the podcast, remember the podcast is on every single weekday morning between 5:30 and 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you want to join in the conversation, please just send us a chat. You can join the podcast live. We offer live coaching calls right here in the moment every single weekday morning from Monday through to Friday. Today our discussion was why attending to your mental health is important. We do hope that you gain some useful insight from this podcast today, and we just want to continue to reiterate and remind you that personal development is not an event. It is a lifestyle. And we are dedicated and committed to seeking to empower and encourage you, more of our men, to understand that this can become a reality. Thank you so much for joining us here again on our podcast. This is your boy, your men's life coach Rolando, where we continue to remind you that at xyspark, we believe that there is a spark in you. We will see you again next time on our podcast. You guys have a fantastic day.